Is live action Stitch a glitch, or does it scratch that nostalgia itch?
Do we end up getting our wish? We'll find out right now on this DadToons Reviews.
DadToons Reviews, talking something new. DadToons Reviews, I'ma mention peer review. DadToons Reviews, we're talking about it all. You're being busy, dizzy, television, big and small.
I'm Braden.
And I'm Matt. And welcome to this special second focus on Lilo and Stitch. This time we're looking at the live action version that just came out 2 days ago.
That's right. Lilo and Stitch 2025 is what we have to call it from now on. 23
years of improvements in the making here, right?
I'm really excited to talk to you about this because for our viewers who missed the last episode, Matt grew up with the original Lilo and Stitch. He has a lot of nostalgia for it. He gave it a 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
I didn't have nostalgia for Lilo and Stitch. I think it's a pretty good Disney movie from like the end of the Disney Renaissance. It's a good post how the Emperor got his groove back.
That's a great metric.
Disney movie. That's what it is. The Emperor's New Groove. How the Emperor got his groove
back. yeah. Just like Stella.
So we're coming at it from completely different perspectives. I don't have any nostalgia for the original Lilo and Stitch. I first saw it in my late 20s, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yes, and Braden brazenly gave it a 7 out of 10,
yes,
which is extreme and violent. Honestly.
I was thinking a lot about that. I've thought a lot about what I did. I really have. I've thought a lot about it.
I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are about that. But before we start, let's just give us a like, please. Like us first, yes, and then listen to what we're saying. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea. Good idea.
Now we can move on.
I started the last Lilo and Stitch conversation by summarizing the plot.
Oh, yeah.
So now you do it.
Yes, I'm going to do it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, okay, so this episode's going to be a spoiler episode here, okay? So we're going to talk all about the details. If you haven't gone to see live action Lilo and Stitch yet, you can either stay and listen because you enjoy listening to spoilers, or, you can wait and go see it in the theater first and then come back and hear all our thoughts about it. So,
yeah.
All right, so the summary of live action Lilo and Stitch. The council has gathered. They've apprehended an experiment that they found was created in their own labs, and they've come to have a meeting about it, and they decided that it was an abomination, and they were going to put him on a desert asteroid. He escapes, and then he ends up crash landing on Earth. And in the meanwhile, Lilo is a young girl who wears overalls, not a dress. And she is a rambunctious child, 6-year-old, who is wandering around Hawaii and breaking into Hawaiian resorts and using their hot tubs. She wants Nani, her older sister, to come to her recitals, and Nani does not show up to her recital because she is busy working, and she has a car that does not work. And so then, they fight a little bit because the social worker comes by and says, oh, this isn't how things should go. They make up, and then Lilo wishes on a star to find a friend. And we find that is Stitch. Or Experiment 626, as he's called. They end up meeting each other at a kennel that Lilo frequents, and then the neighbor that Lilo is with allows Lilo to adopt this dog without consulting her legal guardian. And and then, after that, it's all the same movie as the original. So let's
fair enough. Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay, I'm picking up on some negativity here.
Not at all. No. Not at all.
Okay. No. So this is kind of what I predicted was, because I don't have nostalgia for the original. I'm gonna like it more. And I'll come out and say I had so much fun with this. I thought it was great. So first impressions. We'll talk about first impressions.
Okay.
Right from the beginning, you see the aliens, and my first thought was they're a little slimy. Like they're kind of
they're definitely
gross.
slimier. Yeah.
They're gross.
Yeah, they also turn
why?
up. They definitely turned up the aquatic creature vibe.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, and there were more aliens that looked like sea creatures than even in the previous one. And I'll say too, not all of the aliens in the original were sea creatures either. Like some of them looked like tigers and things like that.
Yes, there were. Yes, I remember that. And
Tigers and aardvarks.
That. Yes, I remember some kind of rodent. There were a few that were like obvious. Also, because you pointed it out in our last video, I noticed the robot vomiting.
They definitely kept it.
I was excited that they kept that joke. They kept so many jokes. And right there at the beginning, when Jumba is describing how evil Stitch is, and they're like cutting to like the scene of Stitch playing chess with Jumba.
Yeah,
that was so funny.
Pushes the chessboard off of it. Yeah, he's mad.
I do feel like Stitch is a little cuter in this one. Like he's cuter, I think. They've upped They've upped the cuteness.
Well,
he behaves cuter.
They definitely mention his cuteness more than in the original. I don't think they really talked about him being cute in the original.
No, I don't think so. But I think
that's a mistake.
Cuter.
There is a line in the original where Stitch goes,
"Also cute and fluffy."
Yeah, so they did mention his cuteness.
Does he say? He says that in this one too, right?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
He says something like
remember.
that. I think he
probably does. It's hard. It was hard for me to keep track of the lines that they had reused next to the lines that they had just tweaked a little bit, because there's a lot of lines being tweaked because for whatever reason they think either it's not realistic, they have to like update it or change it because of like scientific reasons or I don't know what. But yeah, it's like almost it's almost beat for beat for a lot of the movie, a lot of the things that happen and a lot of the dialogue. But then there are like certain liberties that are taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd say it's like 80% the same.
Okay.
80%.
Yeah. 70 to 80% maybe.
70 to 80%. Yeah.
But there's like, I don't know. Yes.
So yeah. So first big change that you notice, they cut a character entirely.
Yeah. Gantu is not there anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't super noticeable at first. It gets way more noticeable at the end because he is the primary antagonist in the third act.
Yep. Yeah. That's a big change too. So because Bantu isn't there, now Zach Galifinakis is a little more of a bad guy.
Well, that's the other thing that you notice right off the bat.
Yes.
Jumba sounds like Zach Galifinakis.
Yes, just straight Zach Galifinakis. He's not doing a voice.
No.
And
he
Zach
just sounds like a guy. He's just a guy.
Zach Galifinakis can do voices. Like,
yeah.
He's done voices as part of his comedy. Has done voices. Yes, he does characters. He can do voice. He can change his voice for comedic effect.
So they basically, the director was just like, okay, Zach, just talk like you would regularly talk. And he's like, okay, just sound like a guy. Just sound like a regular guy.
Probably. Yeah, which is interesting. So originally he had a Russian accent.
Yes.
So maybe they were like, we want to avoid Russian accents.
They don't want to offend Russians.
Perhaps. Or also, it doesn't make sense that he has a Russian accent. He's a space alien.
Yeah, but we have no idea. Here's the thing: we have no idea what accents all there are in space. There's probably a ton of accents in space, right? There's a ton of accents on Earth. So why would there not be a multitude of accents in space?
Yes,
the other
there would
thing,
be.
but here's the reason why I think they went originally with that Russian accent is because he's like a mad scientist. So, traditionally mad scientists have like some sort of an accent like that. His voice in the original was great because it's like deep and it's got a presence to it, it sounds the way he looks, because he's a big, like kind of chunky guy. Yeah. Honestly, like Zach Galifinakis' voice, and they like try and play up like he's so fat the whole time. But Zach Galifinakis' voice does not like sound like a large man.
So here's my thought. I feel like Zach Galifinakis did a really good job he did the assignment well. He did a good job at what he was assigned to do.
Yeah.
And I think
whatever that was.
One thing he did a really good job at was like being that character, like being the type of guy that creates a mad scientist experiment and then is like obsessed with capturing it. Like the essence of the character, I think he totally did have. Really, I feel like the vibe, like imagine if that character was an actual person. I think Zach Galifinakis is close. He's pretty close. He was doing a good job.
He didn't seem very obsessed to me. He seemed kind of like lackadaisical. He seemed kind of like mildly annoyed. Well, I'm just gonna throw out this opinion right now. I think he was horribly miscast.
Okay. The alien character was obviously designed with the original voice in mind, or that kind of voice in mind. When they designed the character, they were imagining that kind of voice.
Okay. Yes.
So then when they make the live action version of the character, he looks very similar to that original design.
Yes.
But he sounds nothing at all like it.
Yeah, and
so
why? Why would they do what?
They should have tweaked the design to make it look more. I think they should have tweaked the alien to make him look more like Zach Galifinakis.
Yeah, or don't cast Zach Galifinakis. That's the easy way out here.
I didn't think he was as bad as you did.
He doesn't feel like a mad scientist to me. He doesn't sound smart.
He feels like a disgruntled government worker, which is what he is.
Sure.
And they dialed that aspect of it up, that they're all like bureaucrats.
They did. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just not, it's not working for me. And here's another note, he doesn't feel threatening to me. He feels whiny, very whiny. They undercut any sort of threatening scenes down, like with jokes and things like that. I'm like, you're not really working for it, if you're gonna make him the primary antagonist, maybe make him threatening. Make him sinister. They didn't do that. They made Jumba actually did feel threatening in the original, and like it was kind of a surprise when he turned good, mm-hmm. And this, there is, spoiler alert, we're doing spoilers this whole time, but like there's no turning point for him, No. He doesn't get the same redemption that Jumba does in the original.
If anything, he gets worse. Like he gets worse as the movie. He gets more evil and more bad as the movie goes along.
Which, this also is a problem because it makes it hard to adapt the sequels in the TV series and everything, because he is involved in that whole thing and he's part of the Ohana in those. Yeah. So he becomes a lovable character, and you can't do that now.
So this might be a good time to talk about the live actionification of animated movies. Like, what was obvious to me in this was like they took Lilo and Stitch, which was a brilliantly animated movie. It was a brilliant animated movie, and they're like, okay, let's make it into like this reminded me of like those 90s like dog movies like Beethoven or like Look Who's Talking.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me, or like Dunstan Checks In, you know, like child actor with silly animal gets in misadventures. And it's like, let's rewrite Lilo and Stitch to make it a 90s like cookie cutter like spec script movie. And
I would agree with that, except it's less enjoyable than that. I wrote
think
down,
it's a great combination. I think it's a cool combination. I feel like we have to ask ourselves why. Why are they making this? Like, there's a reason. Like, animated movies are their own artwork. It's not like they made Lilo and Stitch an animated movie because they couldn't make it a live action movie, right?
That's true.
It's not like the director was like, "Oh, I wish I could make this in live action, but I have to settle for animation."
Right.
No, it's the medium that was chosen because it made the most sense, and it still makes the most sense.
Yeah, I wrote down like while I was watching it, I was like looking at the screen, but I was like typing things on my phone, and I wrote down that it feels like a stage play. All the characters are so overacted, for one thing. Everybody is overacting for most of this movie, and then here's why I said it feels like a stage play, because Nani has her encounter with the social worker, and then with Lilo, and then she walks outside and she has an encounter with the neighbor, and then as she's having an encounter with the neighbor, David walks up, and it's just this ongoing scene that is like, it's clear like people are just walking onto the stage and walking off. It's so weird.
It's like a 90s rom-com, or it's like a Hallmark movie. That's super interesting because I feel like you're noticing the difference between animation and live action, because I'd say that's how animation can capture subtleties that live action can't. And you would think it'd be the opposite way, but animation can be realistic in a way that live action can't.
To me, the live action here, like, just, when I say it's like a stage play, it's like the camera most of the time is so tight, you know?
Yes.
It's so tight and barely moves.
Yes.
And you have like one or two shots and you're just like following this character, and scenes barely ever change. There's not a lot of artistry in the cinematography. I'll absolutely say that.
I agree with that. And when there is artistry in the cinematography, it's because they're copying the animated movie.
Yeah.
I think in terms of cinematography, or like the visuals of it, while we're still talking about the visuals of it, things I like, I think Stitch looked awesome. I think he looked really good. He was integrated with the live action characters really well. Here's another thing that's interesting to me. If the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out today, like exactly the same, exactly the same movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out today, would they call it a live action movie?
Probably. They probably would. I mean, in real life, it's actually a live action hybrid is what it's supposed to be called.
Yes.
It should not be called just a live action movie.
Live action animation. This is because this is a computer animated movie. It's a live action computer animated movie like Scooby-Doo. Like, remember Scooby-Doo? Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It bugged me a lot that they called The Lion King a live action movie, because almost 0% of it is live action.
It's not live action. It's
not live action at all.
It's just animated in a different way.
Yeah. Whereas you could say that the Jungle Book remake is slightly live action. It's definitely the live action hybrid, but you actually have a real boy in there. The Lion King doesn't have any humans at all.
No. So
you can't call it a live action because you're not actually filming animals. Anyways, we're past that. We agree on that, I think. As far as the antagonists go, let's talk about Pleakley. I think Pleakley this is an interesting thing because I thought that I would not like Pleakley, and I clearly I did not like Jumba. I did not like what they did to Jumba. And I actually think that they did a good job with Pleakley. I think they
I agree.
I think his alien form is decent. It's a little too CGI for me.
It's too slimy for me.
Yeah, they do
It's
something
gross.
weird. They do something weird with his eye that they make it look more fishy, I think, is what it is, because his eye normally was white and then you have a pupil, but they like made it fishy. So it's got a lot of like reflection and stuff. So I think that's what's going on with that. But yeah, he's also very slimy too. I do wish we saw more of his alien form. I like when we first see Pleakley this time, you know, where he's wearing a cowboy outfit and he says he's cosplaying half cow, half boy or something like that.
Oh, yes.
I thought,
him like in the elevator, like looking at the people and like copying them with their phones. Like the way he's holding his phone. That was funny.
One thing I didn't like about the way the aliens, you know, when they turn into humans with their, what they called a cloning device is what they called it. They had a cloning device.
Yes, so you were right about that.
Yes, I was right about that.
You guessed that correctly.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a pretty easy thing to guess, especially because they refused to show us Jumba at all for a long time. But anyways, when they turn into humans, Zach Galifinakis is like, I don't know how to walk. What are you talking about? You're a bipedal alien. You're a bipedal human. What are you talking about? That was so dumb.
Yes, that was really dumb. Yeah, well, I guess their bodies work differently, right?
Yeah, apparently, you know, they had to write that in there because they thought it was funny, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, they thought it was funny.
So, so the aliens, let's talk about Lilo real quick.
Okay.
I think Lilo was well cast. I don't think, you know, I think she's funny and silly like I thought she would be. She's cute like I thought she would be. She does a very good job with the material they give her. I think they gave her a lot of new things, new little quips and jokes that she hit on the head. Yes. Now she isn't as deadpan as Debbie Chase was in Lilo and Stitch, and that's a huge downside. Because you want her to be this weird girl that like other kids don't want to play with, right?
Yes. It was a different character. It was a little bit of a different character.
Yeah.
Her personality was a little bit different. It was close, but different. It was more about her kind of being. She was really helpful, and I don't know. She was less like acting out, right?
Yeah. She wasn't as much of a bad kid, you know?
Yeah.
Except for, you know, they show her like pushing the girl, you know, off the stage and everything.
Yes, and like you alluded to, sneaking into hot tubs at resorts.
That was very funny. I laughed out loud at that. What was I'm trying to remember what she said. I'm in town for the convention is what her excuse was.
Yes.
That was very funny.
That was very funny.
Yeah, I liked that.
I thought she was really funny. She reminded me of 90s Olsen twins. Like,
okay.
I was getting 90s Olsen twins acting where it's like they get it. They have comedic timing, but you know, they just need some chops. Like that was kind of my impression of her. She was great. She was really funny. I thought it was a different character, but she ran with it and did a really good job, and it was cute and funny and fun to watch.
Yeah, and like I said in the in the intro, she wore overalls and not a dress, so she doesn't really quite nail the look either. But
so this morning I rewatched the original, and I noticed that Lilo wears the same dress the whole time. And I'm like, why didn't they do that? Like, why didn't they just give her an outfit to wear the entire time?
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's only the story only happens over a few days. Like, why couldn't you do that?
Yeah, and also it's not like don't give me the excuse that's not realistic. This is a movie about an alien experiment from space.
Yes. And that's kind of what I was alluding to too, when I was like, they made changes that they thought needed explained and everything. And it's like, you don't need to explain it. You know, we already know this story. You're just, it's actually distracting when they make those changes. You know, it's so much more noticeable when they do that. It took me out of the movie, like whenever that would happen.
So Lilo was a little bit of a different character.
Yeah.
Nani was a more realistic version of an already really realistic character. I thought it was more zoomed in. I liked it a lot.
I think she's more realistic in the sense that a lot of people don't like show their emotions on the outside. Whereas Nani is very emotional and stuff. And I think that's honestly one thing that they screwed up here. Is we don't get a lot of emotion out of Nani. I don't agree with that. No, there's one scene where she almost cried. One scene. I wrote it down. The whole time I was waiting for her to cry. Honestly, I wrote down no tears at all. She was so close when they come to take Lilo later.
Interesting.
No tears at all. No tears at all. And that's the only part of the movie that I actually almost felt something, honestly.
Okay.
Wow. And this is just a larger issue with the movie. There's no emotional weight where there should be emotional weight. I think they undercut a lot of the heavier scenes with comedy or an attempt at comedy, and it just falls flat. Honestly, I don't think they take the time with those emotional scenes. They take out certain elements that make it better. When Nani and Lilo fight, and then Lilo notices the ship falling and thinks it's a shooting star, she says, "Get out, get out." And she goes and she prays, towards the shooting star. Yes. In the original, Nani is outside the door listening to what she's saying, and she's saying, "Please just give me a friend." And this is why Nani takes Lilo to go get a dog. In this, Nani is not listening. Nani, and then
she was
Lilo,
listening in this one. She was listening.
Maybe I missed it, but I didn't remember her listening here.
I think that she was.
Okay, so she was listening and she didn't do anything about it.
Sure.
So that's worse.
Yeah, that was weird. Because where they were at like some festival or something, and she's like, "Oh, can I go to the dog place?"
Right, and she's there with a neighbor. The neighbor lets Lilo adopt a dog. Just screw it. Yeah, take it home. And then Nani is angry. Nani is angry about it. When she brings it back.
I think that the reason they did that is because they are going harder on the whole she's going to get taken away by Child Protective Services story arc is a bigger part of it. I think this is more Nani's story than the original movie was.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. They do.
And I like that about it because I think Nani is a great character, and you can really sympathize with her because she has to raise her this conflict of you have this really cool sister, but you can't hang out with her like a sister because you have to take care of her and protect her. I think is really interesting, and they lean into that heavily, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah, but that was the conflict in the original movie.
Yeah,
I don't think that's really the conflict here.
Okay.
I think the conflict here is, she wants to go to school for marine biology, but she can't because she's watching Lilo. So here's the reason why I think they added in, the stuff about Nani and everything, because I think they looked at the original film and they go, okay, well, this doesn't resolve the fact that Nani doesn't have a job. It doesn't resolve the fact that they're poor and they don't have anything that they can rely on, right? So they're like, well, what if we, give Nani these aspirations that she wants to be a marine biologist, and, her resolution at the end is she actually gets to achieve that. So I think that was one of those instances where they're like, oh, this isn't realistic, so we got to tweak it.
So what did you think about Lilo showing Stitch the pictures of Nani doing the underwater weight training? And then at the end of the movie, Nani carries heavy Stitch.
Oh,
because
honestly,
you didn't catch the foreshadowing. I saw it coming. I was so happy. I was so excited when Stitch is sinking to the bottom, and Lilo is like, Stitch needs saved. I was like, oh man, I know what's going to happen. Nani is going to use her weight training skills. I was so happy when I was right. I was so excited.
Yeah, but they forced that in the movie. You know, it's that, you know, dragging Stitch out of the water at the end never happened in the original. They forced it into the movie to fit the narrative that they wanted to add. That scene where Stitch is underwater and Lilo's trying to save him, and Nani drags Lilo away and says, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. Why? Yes. She's already on the surfboard. What are you talking about? Stitch is underwater and you know that, and she's trying to leave. This is the moment where I wrote into my notes, I said, I don't like her. I don't like Nani.
You're talking about at the end.
Yes, I'm talking about it.
Yeah. Well, she's protecting her sister. She hasn't made the change in her head yet that because it's a sacrifice to go try to save Stitch. She's just trying to make
Why at this point would she not make that sacrifice?
Because she hasn't considered him part of her ohana yet. But then you see the change. It happens.
This is then. Like the climax of the movie. Why would she not?
That's when she changes her mind. You see her change her mind.
You know,
that's her changing her mind, right? Like in that moment where you're writing, I don't like her. That's her changing her mind. You missed it.
Yes.
While you were looking down and writing that, you missed her changing her mind.
No, I didn't miss her changing her mind. I knew it was there. I knew it was happening. But the fact that all this has already happened and we get to this point and she makes the decision to say, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. We need to get out of here when she knows what is happening. It's frustrating because Lilo is already safe. Okay? Yeah. She's already safe. Why are you saying we need to get out of here? Because Lilo can also swim. You know, she can swim. We've seen it.
She's very good at it.
Stitch cannot. Anyways.
Sure. That's fair. Okay. So I want to talk about Cobra Bubbles.
Yes. I want to talk about, that was the next thing I was going to suggest. He is not cool. He is not cool at all.
Okay. So yes, to summarize my feelings about it, I like what they did with splitting the social worker into two characters, and I like the way that Cobra Bubbles was like an undercover, like Men in Black kind of situation.
Who did nothing.
Yeah, that's true. He was kind of inconsequential in the end.
He was so lame.
Like, it made me think, was like that intended in the original? Like, was that like intended backs? Because in the original, he was in the CIA. He says that. He says he was like at Roswell.
Here's my take on the original. Cobra Bubbles, yes, he was in the CIA and he had all these fantastical experiences in his past, in his prime, right? He is in Hawaii now because he is basically retired. He's retired from the CIA. He's doing social work, you know, as a public servant, right? Yes. And he's, you know, just trying to be a good person.
That makes sense. But one cool thing about the original is that it's open for interpretation a little bit. They don't spoon feed you every detail, which is like something that they feel the need to do in these live action movies. They don't leave anything open for interpretation. They have to explain everything to you so you can't nitpick it. On Rotten Tomatoes.
The Grand Councilwoman is like, oh, but I heard that you were going to tell your superiors about us, and that's a bad thing. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was weird. I also clocked that same line as like, why are you saying that? That's like screenwriting, like, you write that to remind yourself what's happening in the story, and then you take it out in the second draft.
Yes, exactly. But here's, okay, so yeah, they split the two in half. Why did you like the splitting in half?
Because I liked the female social worker character, and because I liked the part of emphasizing Nani's story, and I think the female social worker character was important to kind of giving Nani her own, to fleshing out her arc a little bit with wanting to go to school for marine biology and what they do with her relationship with the surfer guy. What's his name?
David.
I like that. They make it like cute and quirky, and he's like awkward, and it's totally different tonally from the original.
Okay.
But this is go ahead.
But what about the social worker? Like, what's good about that?
So it emphasizes Nani's story, and the social worker is able to be like
The good cop.
The social worker, yes, the social worker has different motivations than Mr. Bubbles.
Yeah, she has the motivations that a social worker should have, really.
Yes.
Honestly, in
like
the original.
Our complaints before about Mr. Bubbles not doing his job well have been answered.
Sure.
With this character.
But I think him not doing his job well also is like a symptom of him being a retired agent, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. And just trying to be a good guy.
Yeah.
In Hawaii.
Sure. Yeah. I think that the social worker I think she made it kind of too easy on Nani, and honestly, it made the plot a little too by the numbers, because in the original, Cobra Bubbles is like following them around and watching what's happening, and he is an imposing presence, and we don't get that imposing presence with the social worker in this one or this new Cobra Bubbles. He's not imposing at all. So there's no real threat. It doesn't feel like there's this imminent threat that Lilo is really going to be taken away. It's always been like, even when Nani's like talking to Lilo, she's like, it's like when you're at camp and I'm working and we'll be able to see each other. It's fine. It just doesn't feel like a threat.
And the presence of the neighbor makes it feel less threatening.
Yes.
Her being there makes it feel like, oh, it's going to be all right for them, because she's looking out for them.
She's got support. And that's not what this character in this story, in this plot, should have. She should not have support. She should be at her wit's end. She even has her coworkers. Her coworkers have her back. Her coworkers are tossing her keys as she's trying to get to Lilo's recital.
Here it's more about the pressure she puts on herself. Most of the things that they changed, I'm like, I totally get why they did it. It's the translation from animation to live action. It's a different thing. But one change that I really didn't like was probably my favorite part in the original was when Lilo gives the councilwoman the receipt.
Oh, yes. And
I
they didn't
loved
have
that part, and it's not in there. And I knew it wasn't going to be in there because of the way Stitch was adopted.
Yes.
So I knew they weren't going to do that. And that was the thing I was most disappointed about, was because I loved that part where she's like, I bought him. And they're like, well, we're rule followers. We're bureaucratic rule followers. I loved that stuff. They took that out.
And what was great about that scene too in the original was that Cobra Bubbles was the one to be like, hey, Lilo, didn't you buy that thing at the shelter? And then she goes and finds the receipt and she's like, I bought him. You're stealing if you take him. Yes. Because that shows, that Cobra Bubbles is invested in this working too.
Yeah.
In this one, you have Cobra Bubbles sitting idly by in his truck while Stitch is dying. And he's just sitting there watching like, oh boy, I wish I could do something, and he's not even trying to do anything. Like, okay, I think the only reason that they even had him in here was so that they could, so they could shift the scene to where the chase scene is him taking them to track the ship. I think that's the only reason he's here, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing he really does is track Jumba's ship.
And I will say about that character one last thing I'll say about Cobra Bubbles is I do think he was miscast. I didn't like the actor.
Why couldn't you just get Ving Rhames? What the hell?
Yeah, I didn't like the act. If they had a different actor, I don't know. That guy he just wasn't doing it for me. I don't know.
Just get Ving Rhames. He's still acting, you know? And
Yeah,
Cobra
why
Bubbles here is sitting anyways. And I know Ving Rhames loves to sit in his movies. Just let him sit in the damn car, dude.
Yeah, why? I wonder why they didn't do that.
It would have been better with Ving Rhames for sure. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But they also just felt the need that they had to split the two up. And I very much disagree with that decision. Yeah, one thing I wanted to note is that Stitch is a lot less chaotic in this than he is in the original. And he causes a lot less damage. He's pretty benign, you know. He's not really causing a lot of heartache with people. And here's the other thing. I think they didn't really sell us on him being such a dangerous thing. He doesn't seem any more dangerous than any of the aliens. Mm-hmm. He seems just like a normal alien, really. He really does not. They didn't sell us on that at all.
Well, one thing I liked was that scene when Stitch first arrives and he like terrorizes the wedding.
Yeah, I mean, it was
like
a fun addition.
I feel like his obsession with cake is new. 'Cause there's like multiple times he's like obsessed with dessert or cake in this version.
I think they took the one scene from when they are at the luau and they bring Lilo the coconut cake, and that's her favorite dessert or something like that. And Stitch grabs the coconut cake and just shoves it in his mouth. And then she goes, "Hey!" And then he spits it back out and puts the cherry back on top. Oh, he pulls the cherry out of his throat and puts it back on top. That was great. So I think what they did was they were trying to like expand that thing and be like, okay, let's add more cake.
Yeah.
But like, what was the point of adding him terrorizing the wedding? Really, what was it?
To show that he's a terror, to show that he is to show what he's capable of.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's not over here destroying cities. He's just like, you know, being a little too rambunctious at a wedding. He's like the drunk uncle at a wedding. Cool.
So we should eradicate all drunk uncles from the face of the planet?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Is that the point? Is that the point? Lilo and Stitch 2025?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh man. Here's another issue that I wanted to bring up because I'm surprised that it hasn't come up yet, honestly. The shots are edited way too quick. All the scenes are just flying by. The whole opening scene is like boom, 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 boom. They're hitting all of like the specific notes they think they have to, and then they're just moving on. And they do that through the whole movie. This is a part of the reason why I say there's no emotional weight. They don't spend enough time on any one shot to like make you feel something.
I think that's just what movies are like nowadays. I think that's like editing nowadays, right? Like
No.
Like, or like modern like family movie editing. It's like TikTok influenced. It's like fast.
I think they thought because they were trying to turn it up, they really took out a lot of the adventure qualities and tried to make it more of a comedy. So I think that's why it's edited faster, because they're like, okay, he quips this and they quip that, and then they're moving on. We're moving on.
I think that's why. It is more of a comedy than the original.
Yeah. Because
maybe that's why I liked it so much. And also I thought it was funny. I thought a lot of the time I was laughing.
Yes. Yeah. I did laugh at a lot of things, and there are things I like about it, and there's things that they added that I like, as I mentioned earlier. But I do think they need to have emotional weight in this movie, and they do not have it.
The scene with Nani and Lilo in the hammock, it wasn't as good as the animated one.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
But it was good. It was good, though.
It was good, yeah. And my wife did think that was a good scene. That was the one she brought up when she was like, well, that was good.
Yeah.
So we talked about the editing, and the pacing and all that. And I mentioned how it feels more like a comedy than it does like an action adventure comedy. And part of the reason here, this is a massive thing that I don't think you noticed.
Okay.
There is no Alan Silvestri score here.
I did notice that.
There is
I did notice that the music was different.
No Alan Silvestri score. They don't even hint at it. Not once.
I did notice that. I absolutely noticed that because we talked about it so much in the last conversation. I totally noticed that.
That is an atrocity.
That is bad. I agree with you. It felt missing. Also, like this being the live action one, because he's the Back to the Future guy, and perfect opportunity to take advantage of that. Like, it would have been even more fitting of this movie than it was the original, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and I didn't even need Alan Silvestri to compose like the entire score. I just wanted some hints at it. I was like, they'll bring in that theme, the bam, bam, ba-da, bam, ba-da. Like that's the triumphant moment right there. And then you also have when Stitch crash lands and he pops out of the bubbling like burning green hole, and it goes ba-da-da, and it's like there's a lot of like just cues there that don't make it hit, and they also don't spend enough time letting that scene breathe and making him understand. Like he's seeing things like the rain drop, boop, blasts it, he's seeing the frog and he's like, what are you doing, and you don't get any of that. You have the frog there because they're like, oh, the frog looks funny. Well, that's not the entire point. Anyways, so just the missing the Alan Silvestri, like just the score, the score is almost non-existent, honestly. And you mentioned that like we don't touch on Elvis at all. And
Elvis is much less present in this version.
So they do put Elvis in here, but there's like not really a reason why. Like she does play a record of Elvis when she's like, leave me alone to die. But you don't
It's not like her special interest.
Yeah.
Like it was in the original.
Yeah. In the original, she's like, okay, I know how to make Stitch good. I'm going to teach him the qualities of Elvis. Right. And that's funny and fun. And they don't do it, because they're like, that's stupid or something. I don't know.
Do you think the Alan Silvestri thing is because of money?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I don't think they had to hire Alan Silvestri just to get some of his music in here. I think they could have, hinted at it and everything. I don't think he would have had a problem licensing the compositions, to them. I think they didn't want to do it. I think they thought that it didn't make the funny scenes hit as much or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that really, really annoyed me, honestly. Like that just because that is a constant thread throughout the movie, right? The score is a massive piece of the movie. The score, honestly, like usually is what makes you feel something in a movie. And so it being missing, it's just a gaping hole there.
Well, there was score, right? It wasn't Alan Silvestri. It wasn't an iconic.
No, they had Bruno Mars. That's great. At the wedding, you had a wedding. You have to have Bruno Mars, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is like the modern movie making style. It's references to things. It's fast editing. It's modern. It's they call it needle drops nowadays. That's what the kids are calling it.
Yeah, and they also did it in the original with the Elvis music and some other. I think there were some
Elvis
other
needle
moments.
Drops are different than Bruno Mars.
I don't think it was only Elvis needle drops in the original, though. I think there was at least one other needle drop. I can't pinpoint it right now. Anyways, so yeah, that just makes it very difficult to for me to enjoy this, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gantu. We didn't talk about the removal of. We just hinted at the removal of Gantu, right?
Okay, the removal of Gantu. Yes, all the stuff with Zach Galifinakis like being a real son of a bitch.
Yeah,
I wasn't a big fan of. Because I kept expecting him to turn the corner and be the nice guy that he was in the original, and I wanted to see that from Zach Galifinakis,
but you can't because you don't have Gantu. Because Gantu came in and now he's the primary antagonist, you know, and he's the one that's like Gantu's also trying to redeem himself for losing Stitch at the beginning of the movie. So like in this one, it's like, oh, it's nobody's fault. He just got out. So like nobody has to redeem themselves, you know, in the eyes of the council. I would also say that the Grand Councilwoman was a lot less grand. She was a lot less stately. She was a lot more nitpicky or like annoyed.
Bureaucratic. She seemed more like a middle manager than like...
Original one feels more like a queen, right? Mm-hmm. She feels...
Well, I don't know. She seemed regal, and the like collar around her neck looks like coral.
Yeah, that's cool. I liked the look of that. I think they added a little bit there visually. But yeah, I just think, you know, you remove Gantu, and then now Jumba does not have an opportunity to turn good. And you don't have a cool chase scene, you know, like the ships flying through the air, chasing each other through Hawaii. Like that's visually, that is one of the best parts of the movie.
I wish they were all friends at the end. I wish Zach Galifinakis was a good guy at the end, and I'm disappointed that he wasn't. That's my big... nitpick. That's my big issue.
Yeah, I mentioned
also,
how
another nitpick, Myrtle in the original, the bully girl Myrtle, is way more of a character.
Absolutely.
So that's a nitpick. I wish she was a little bit in it more because she was interesting, and it's just kind of the bully girls are kind of one
she's just a generic bully in this one.
Yeah.
Myrtle is, you're right. She's such a character in the original, and like you can just feel who this person is. You know, she's like a little spoiled rich girl. You know, she gets whatever she wants, so she can be mean to people, but they don't really. You know, there's no weight there. Here's a nitpick of mine. Jumba says he wants to turn Stitch into 627. That doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. You don't just turn them into other experiments.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah. And so weren't there like TV series cameos in that scene? Like,
yes, there were.
You saw some TV series experiments. That's pretty cool.
It was cool. Also, I do wish that they had. So basically, the Easter egg of seeing a few of the different experiments. So you saw Angel. You saw 625, which is the one who likes to make sandwiches. His name is Ruben. His name is Ruben, and so he has a big part in Stitch the movie. They're just flat, you know, drawings of them. I wish they had turned them into actual like CGI,
like 3D models. Yes, that would have been cool to see.
So that's a little nitpick of mine. Do you have any other nitpicks?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got a lot of nitpicks here. All right.
Okay.
So
is this a section?
Yes, this is a new section.
This is a new section. Nitpicks. Nitpicks.
I'm gonna get you nitpicks. All right.
Okay, great. I love it.
The birth of a section. All right.
Yes, we're seeing it happen right now. Yes.
All right. We have 6 or 7 shots. I counted them of Capri Sun, like very prominent Capri Sun.
And they say it out loud.
Do they say Capri Sun?
The social worker character says it like at the end of the one meeting. She's like, "That's Capri Sun, isn't it?" Like,
yeah, so dumb. Oh man. I mean, I liked seeing Nani squeeze it into a cup like it's tea. I think that was great. But like, it's just so prominent. It's Capri Sun. Like, okay, is Capri Sun? So one of the things I know about this movie is that they tried to make it a little bit bit more like authentic local Hawaiian. So that is one of the things I like about it. But is like Capri Sun? Is Capri Sun like a local Hawaiian thing that they like a lot of Capri Sun?
I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know, but I would be surprised if that was true.
You know, here's a nitpick. Capri Sun is a little expensive. Why would Nani have Capri Sun?
Wouldn't she have the store brand? I would. Yes.
Wouldn't she just have like Kool-Aid packets? Actually, Flavor Aid packets. She would have Flavor Aid packets.
Flavor Aid packets. Yeah, like half the price. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the nitpick. Stitch recognizes Jumba, even though Jumba is in human form and he doesn't really hear him talking.
I flagged that too. He seemed to immediately understand who they were.
Yeah,
even
and
though
what
they're
was happening.
in these disguises. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another nitpick I have. Jumba, when the councilwoman is like, okay, we need somebody to go down there and get Stitch, or 626, Jumba's like, I don't need a babysitter. When they are like, Pleakley is going to go with you. I don't need a babysitter. He said it like twice. And yes, you do. You are like a convicted felon now, right?
Yes.
Why would they send you on your own? Like, you're not trustworthy. Clearly, they've already made that decision. Why do you think you can reason your way out of this? Stupid.
In the original, Pleakley was like, who's going to watch him? And then the councilwoman is like, you will. But in this one, it was like, well, we have to find someone who wants to
Who's
travel.
going to control him? Is what he says.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. But in this one, it was more about like his obsession with Earth. They leaned more into him being like an Earth aficionado.
Yeah, which is actually one thing that I liked more, because in the original, it's just like he's fascinated with Earth, but more in like a scientific way. And he's obsessed with mosquitoes. He thinks mosquitoes are great until he realizes they're not. Which I don't think they really they hinted at that here. Yeah. But there was no scene where like Pleakley was like, "Oh my God, the mosquitoes, they're coming, they're nestling me with their noses."
I was
like,
hoping for that too.
Yeah, so we never
was
got
like,
that.
"Oh, I can't wait for this actor to get covered in mosquitoes." I was excited for it, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think it would have been a great scene. We just see like Jumba like swatting at the mosquitoes and stuff. Yeah. Maybe both of them are, but yeah. So I guess that's another nitpick. Let's see.
Oh yeah, that'll be one of my nitpicks. I'll pick that.
You'll adopt that one. Yes. Let's get into the fun facts right now.
Okay, fun facts.
Fun facts. Yeah.
Fun facts.
All right, fun facts. Here we go. I remember watching the director made a video answering internet questions, and somebody asked him why Pleakley wasn't wearing a dress in the sneak peek that they saw. Okay. And he responded, I tried. I really did.
Okay.
And so that's another one of the things that we get more of with Pleakley here in the movie, is that he's like a fashion aficionado, right? So he's like always wearing something different. That's fun. Yeah. You know, he's taking full advantage of his being in a human form. So that's one way that they actually put it to good use.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a big part of the original movie, is like Pleakley cross-dressing and pretending to be like a woman and like wanting to be a beautiful woman. So like, yeah, we're missing that.
Yes. And the cartoon, that's a big part of the cartoon, I feel like, too.
Another fun fact. So let's see. Okay. So Amy Hill, this is an actress who is the neighbor in this movie. And she actually was in the original movie, but she was the old shop lady who's like, I'm waiting for somebody to answer my ad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when I was rewatching the original today, I had the thought, like, I'll bet that was like the spark for the neighbor character.
It was. So they expanded her role to be like an actual presence in Nani's life.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you realized that the social worker is the same woman who voices Nani in the original.
I didn't know that for sure, but I had a suspicion. She was super familiar, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I thought, I wonder if
Yeah.
she was in the original, at least.
Yeah, Tia Carrera, she is great. She was also in some of those like CBS shows, like the NCIS or whatever.
Yeah, I knew like she was like her face was super familiar.
Yeah.
And her voice was familiar too, but I don't know. I didn't make the connection. Do you have any more fun facts for us?
Yeah, I've got more fun facts.
Okay.
So don't you worry your pretty little butt about that. We got lots of fun facts here. All right, the next one. According to an Entertainment Weekly interview that just came out, the director advocated for removing Gantu, who was in the original script for this live action.
Oh, Scandal. Okay.
Yes, Scandal. He thought the character being in there made it a more conventional movie. He wanted to make Jumba the villain to add a personal connection. There's already a personal connection there.
Oh, I disagree with that. That doesn't make any sense. It's I feel like this makes it a more traditional movie. I feel like taking him out makes it a more traditional movie.
Yeah.
Having like multiple antagonists that all like change their minds in different ways, that's less traditional.
Yes. Yeah, and having actual character arcs and everything.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, he was like, he says like, you want your main antagonist to be the representative for the theme of the film. It seemed like an opportunity to do that as opposed to just there's a big bad boss that comes down and is shooting lasers at everybody.
I feel like he's misunderstanding.
This is my problem. I think the director is misunderstanding the original movie.
Okay. Yeah, I think in that quote, yeah, it sounds like he's misunderstanding because I agree with him. The antagonist should like encapsulate the theme of the movie in some way, but there's multiple antagonists in the original and they all show the theme in different ways, which all the characters are supposed to do. All of the characters are supposed to represent a different spectrum of the problem the main character has. They're all at some different level of that problem.
Yes, and it is personal for Gantu because, like I said, like he's the one that basically allows Stitch to escape, even though he's this big captain, you know, like he's supposed to be this hardened, you know, military guy or something. And so it's a big loss and he wants to prove himself. So it is personal for him. What? And we even, you know, at the beginning of that movie, it's set up. You could have brought that in. It could have paid off, whatever. I just don't think he really, you know, understood it. Another fun fact, he wants to bring in Sparky and Dr. Hamsterville, who were in Stitch the movie, in the sequel.
Oh, so he does plan to make a sequel.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, you know, talking about it. It is possible. It's very possible we're going to get a sequel at this point. I know
think it's doing well.
It's doing well in the theaters, and you know, similarly to Aladdin did well in theaters, and they did greenlight a sequel to Aladdin, but we haven't seen anything about that yet. Yeah, and everybody's like, is it going to be Return of Jafar, right?
That'd be like sweet, actually.
I think it'd be cool, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's kind of planning on it. He says he wants to bring in Angel, Ruben, and then he says he wants to bring in 627, which the Wikipedia says that he erroneously refers to 627 as Leroy. Now, I also erroneously said that 627 was Leroy in the last one. I was wrong about that. So that is a correction here. You know,
correction. You're not going to see that anywhere. Who else is doing corrections?
This is real, honest journalism here.
Yes.
Honest.
Yes. Look at us in our integrity.
Yeah, journalistic integrity. Yes. Leroy is actually experiment 629. So I'm not sure which, I don't remember which one is the 628. I'll have to look that up.
But that's a fair mistake for you to make because you're not directing a remake of it.
That's true.
If you were, you might expect you to know the difference between that. But,
yeah, maybe he should have spent less time trying to figure out how to draw Stitch, which he also does in his little video. He's like, I think if you're doing a movie about, you know, a character, you should be able to draw it. So he draws it out while he's talking, and he's like, here's my Stitch.
Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, get the rest of it right, dude.
Yeah, your other people are drawing it for you. You actually don't have to be able to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, it's also it's a live action, so nobody's drawing, dude. All right.
So this is not required of you. I don't think you understand your job.
Yeah, this was originally planned to be a Disney Plus release, which changed only last year to theatrical. But
Really?
it still feels like a Disney Plus release.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, how do they decide anymore? Like, I feel like the difference between a direct-to-streaming movie and a theatrical movie is slowly getting more and more similar. They're getting less different.
Yeah, I think it's just they decide whether they can make money off of it in the theater or not.
Yeah, it's purely a marketing thing.
Yeah. They're like, we can sell Stitch because, here's another fun fact.
Oh,
so
okay, great. Wow, they're coming so fast.
Rapid pace.
Rapid fire.
Yeah. So speaking of them selling it, they mimicked the legendary marketing campaign that we talked about last time that pissed you off so much as a kid.
Oh, they did?
They did. They mimicked it. This time they did teaser posters where it was just like him standing, like holding Maui's hook.
Oh, really? I didn't see
like
any of that. I
biting.
missed that.
Yeah, around the time that Moana came out, they also had a teaser poster for Stitch that kind of like went out at the same time, so that way they could like tie the two together. Moana 2, I should say.
I didn't know until you told me in the last episode that the creator of Stitch is also the voice of Stitch.
Oh, you didn't even know that? I
didn't
kind of
know that.
assumed that you knew that.
No, I didn't know that until you told me that.
Okay.
So that means that the creator of Stitch had to be involved in this at least a little bit because he's the voice of Stitch. And he does a great job in this. It's the same. His voice is the same, which is great. Well, I feel like that him voicing Stitch is his seal of approval.
Well, he also voiced Stitch like in all the other, spin-offs, in Stitch the movie, and Lilo and Stitch 2, in the series. He did the whole series. He had involvement in that. He recorded this in 5 4-hour sessions. Another fun fact.
Okay.
He said he had difficulties like sustaining the voice these days. Maybe it's because he's 63 years old. Maybe it's just like that's always been the case. Mm-hmm. But he really didn't have too much involvement in this movie. And here's another fun fact. Disney hadn't even approached him to reprise the role of Stitch until after September 2022, according to an interview.
Messed up.
Yeah. He had an interview with Sci-Fi and they were asking him about the live action Lilo and Stitch. And he's like, I don't know. They haven't called me, dude. Yeah.
What?
They didn't even talk to him about it.
That's messed up.
And this is a prominent thing because he's very open. He does a lot of interviews. I hope one day we can interview him. That'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Let's bring him on. I'd love to.
Chris Sanders, we'd love to have you on. I'll tag you on TikTok. I know you're there. So he's done an interview before and he was talking about like the live action Mulan remake because he was actually, one of the story artists on that. He was like, all you got to do, buy us some whiskeys and just ask us, our thoughts on doing this as a live action. Just like talk to us. And so they don't reach out to the original creators when they're doing this. Well, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, they want to do their own thing. They want to do their own version of it.
But you don't want to have a conversation with the creator. You don't want to just like chat about it first. You don't want to get his take on it. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah. Especially something like this, like Lilo and Stitch was his baby from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Right? Like he's been thinking of it since the 80s.
Yeah, that's just I don't think he had a lot of involvement in this movie. That interview came out like literally a couple months before they even started shooting. So like I'm wondering like did they shoot this like without his recordings at all? Like and they just had like somebody reading lines?
Probably.
Did they have something else in mind?
Maybe
that didn't work?
Maybe they were planning on just using archival recordings. Maybe they're like, we already have enough recordings of this guy being Stitch. Like, we don't need him to come in and do it again.
It's possible.
Because they probably could have. And there's probably, back when he made that original movie, he probably recorded a ton of lines that they didn't use.
Yeah.
So just use those, and now they're new lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I am curious what Chris Sanders actually thinks about the live action movie. Like, okay, so he's in it. He was in like the featurette, like showing him talking and everything, but there's no way he could actually possibly speak his mind candidly about this right now. Maybe later.
No, yeah, and maybe not ever, because Disney likes their NDAs. But
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna disagree. I don't see why he would hate it. I think it's true to his vision. I think it's updated and it's revised for live action, which is a different medium.
I think he'd have some problems with it, just based off of the conversation he had about Mulan.
So you took your kids to see this.
Yes.
Now more than anything, this is a kids movie, right? That's what Lilo and Stitch is. It's a kids movie.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
So let's transition into Does It Work?
Okay. Does it work? Does it work?
I'm swaying.
It is a nice chill vibe.
I'm swaying, yes. So I'd say if I'm asking myself, does it work? I want to ask myself, what's it trying to do? And it's trying to be a fun kids movie that gives adults nostalgia, good feelings. That's what I think it's trying to do. So that's why I want to ask you, because my kid is 1.5. We got a babysitter. It was amazing. It was so good. It was so good. We got a babysitter and we went to see Lilo and Stitch. But you took your children. What did they think about it?
I don't think my 2-year-old really like watched the movie. Okay. I think we had, I think my wife ended up satiating him with just a quiet barrage of YouTube Kids, I think. So he was kind of like, in and out, whatever. Like, I don't think he really paid attention. Now he's 2. So like, I wasn't expecting that, honestly.
Sure, but that's saying something. It didn't hold his attention.
Yes, it is saying something, especially because he did sit through the whole movie, the whole first movie that we took him to, which was also a live action hybrid. Okay. So like, it's not because it's just a live action hybrid. Sonic 3, he watched the whole thing. He sat there and watched the whole thing. Now let's talk about my 5-year-old. He watched it. He didn't seem overly enthusiastic about it. We did ask him about it in the car on the way home. We were like, what did you think about it? I think we asked, what did you think about Jumba? Because we were talking about Jumba. And he was like, I thought it was weird that they were humans. He literally said this unprompted. I'm not lying to you.
I believe you.
I just asked what he thought about Jumba.
I believe he would say that.
He said,
that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. He said, well, I think it was pretty good, but I think it was weird when Jumbo was a person. Something like that.
Yes. Well, and if I was a kid, if I was his age, that would probably be what bothered me the most too. Because I would be like, and yeah, why? I mean, I think I know why they didn't just make them aliens the whole time. Part of it is they want star power of Zach Galifinakis. And part of it is like in the original, there's a lot of scenes of them like in disguise, and it's obvious that it wouldn't work if it was real.
Not in reality.
But we believe it because it's a cartoon.
Yeah, but we're also not like gun to our head. We have to believe this. It's
our suspension of disbelief works differently. That's why the mediums are different. You believe more in a cartoon than you do in a live action movie.
Yes, but what makes the joke funny is that they stick out like sore thumbs. Yes. But people just think they're ugly. That is what is funny about it.
That is funny. You're right. And why couldn't they have just done that?
They could have, if they believed in the conceit of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, they would have done that. You know, if they wanted to just like, yeah, if they were like, okay, this is goofy, let's roll with it. Like, I think it would have been better. But here's the other thing. I think that this movie is good when it does its own thing. Okay?
Okay. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
This movie is good when it does its own thing. When Pleakley is goofy in his new ways, you know, and he's like, he's being silly, it's fun. And when Lilo is making little quips, that's fun.
One thing that's new that I wonder your opinion on is the portal gun. Which is like a big plot point, kind of.
It is, yeah. They really like lean on that portal gun a lot.
And it's exactly the portal gun from Portal. It's pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, they're like bloop over here, bloop over there. That's how it works. And they even have the same physics and everything. Like the portal loop scene where he puts Jumba in a portal loop. Like, okay, that's fine. But like, I mean, like, it's fun. I don't think like it added much, you know?
Yeah.
I think they used it as a way to tell the story of why they have to be discreet. He shot the portal at the wall and the Hawaiian fat dude is like turning around, is like, what the hell? And and so they use that as a way to tell us why they have to be discreet.
Yeah. Well, and Jumba uses it to escape at the end because he turns into his human self.
He bloops right back into his ship.
Yes, exactly.
And then Lilo discreetly sneaks through that portal, right?
Yes.
One thing that I didn't like about the portal gun is just the fact that he was using it more than like his blaster, his plasma blaster. That's one of the things I really loved in the original is just the look of the plasma blaster, and like it's like green, glowy, gooey kind of thing that like Stitch is able to like catch and like throw back at him. It's cool. It's different. They didn't really have that. He had some sort of a blaster that just like kind of, you know, it's kind of like a sonic blaster. It kind of just like poof and just like.
So if I'm answering the question, does it work? And the criteria that I've designed for myself is that it's a fun movie to watch that gives you nostalgia, good feelings. I would say yes, this movie worked. I enjoyed watching it. I had a lot of fun with it. They changed things. They transitioned it from a animated movie to a live action movie. I prefer the animated movie. It's a better work of art. I prefer it. This was great also. It's different, but still really good. It was great.
You're saying it's a different work of art, so you're calling this a work of art?
Sure. Yes, I will. Yes, I'll call it that.
We're going to agree to disagree right there.
Yes, we are. Yes. So, Matt, does it work?
This movie does not work. It is not effective in telling the story that the original told. We're trying to hit the same, you know, emotional beats. We're trying to hit the same comedic beats with a little bit of peppered new stuff in there.
Yes.
And there's a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems. And, you know, I talked to my wife on the way home about my issues, and I'm trying to be like, you know, I'm trying to tread on water here because like I don't want to say this movie is bad. I don't want to dislike something. Honestly, I want to like everything.
Sure.
And it doesn't help that I love the original this much, but it's hard not to, you know.
Yes.
And I love the original because of all those little things that they missed out here. So like when you change all those things, it makes it a thing that doesn't work. I think it's a fun movie. And I think if you don't have specific love for the original, you'll probably like it more. And I think, you know, I don't think it needs any help at the box office right now because people love Stitch.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad about saying that it's not hitting what it needs to hit. I think it's not as good as the original, and it's not as good as basically all the spin-offs that were made, direct to DVD.
Would you have liked this better if it was just a shot-for-shot remake of the original, just with live-action characters, and it was as similar as possible to the original? Would you have preferred that?
Yes, I would have. And
see, I wouldn't have.
Now, there's two sides to that. Like I said, if it was trying to do its own, there's two different movies here, right? There's a completely shot-for-shot remake where you keep the same characters, you kind of do the same performances, you have more or less the same dialogue, and then the other option is you're just like really trying to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And the problem here is that they're just in the middle. They're not trying to do their own thing, and they're not trying to completely do the original. They're trying to like do a little bit of everything. It's kind of Rise of Skywalker-y, where Disney is just trying to appease all the fans.
I don't
and just
think
everybody.
It's that bad, but I agree.
No. It's not as bad as Rise of Skywalker. I'm just I'm citing that as an instance where Disney just couldn't take a direction.
It's trying to be everything to everyone, and I agree with you. You're right. It could have been the exact remake, or it could have been something totally different, and this is a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Which I think for this movie was the right call. I think it was the right call for this. It's a lot of the things that you want to be there are there. A lot of the shots and stuff that you want to be there are there. A lot of the visuals.
But that's why it's so distracting.
Yeah.
That's why it takes me out of it, because it's like the lines are almost the same, except, okay, so the Grand Councilwoman goes, he won't survive in water. His molecular density is too great. And then in this one, she's like, oh, he won't survive in water. His molecular density increases when he is in water. And all the people around her are like, and she's like, oh, it's just scientific mumbo jumbo. You wouldn't understand it. And it's like, that was just distracting for no reason. But for some reason,
she explains it. She dumbs it down, and she's like,
yeah,
that means if he gets wet, he'll sink and drown. And
yeah.
And then I'm like, so that's going to happen later. I'm like,
exactly.
I know. Like, you just told us what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it's more subtle in the original. They're just like, if he's in water.
Subtle. And this is something I thought about, because I've thought a lot about, because I gave the original a 7 in the last one.
Yeah.
And here's why I gave the original a 7. Honestly, I've been wrestling with it. It's because I had given like 3 8s in a row, and I didn't want to give another 8. And I should have given it an 8. I should have given it an 8.
Are we getting a redaction here as well?
Can I redact? Am I allowed to? Here's what I'll say.
It's frustrating to me. But sure, yes.
At the time, and knowing what I knew then, and having the person that I was with the experiences that I had at the time, I believed in the score that I gave at the time. It's now 2 weeks later, and I saw a live action remake of this movie, and I thought, man, if I ever saw a movie that was a 7.5. If I ever saw a movie that was a 7.5, that was it. That's the definition of a 7.5. Live action Lilo and Stitch is a 7.5. But I'm like, but it's better. But the original is better. So I can't get it. I was wrong to give the original Lilo and Stitch a 7. I should have given it, in fact, an 8.5. Matt, you gave it a 10. I should have given it an 8.5.
Okay.
I didn't.
8.5 is better than 8, yeah. 7.5 hurts me a bit. But
I give this one a 7.5. I give live action Lilo and Stitch 2025 a 7.5. I give the original Lilo and Stitch an 8.5. It's a better movie. Not to like crap on people who make live action movies. Those are great too. I love dozens of them. Pulp Fiction is pretty good.
Pretty good. You have notes on Pulp Fiction? Let's hear them. Come on, let's go.
No.
Let's go. Give me some notes on Pulp Fiction. It's pretty good. All right.
Pulp Fiction is great. I'm just saying I hold animated movies to a higher standard. That's all I'm saying.
Personally, you do, yes.
Personally, I do, yes. Personally.
And that's fair. I think, yeah, you can hold it to a higher standard. But you also didn't give me like any like real ways that you can improve Lilo and Stitch, though.
So it hurts you that I'm giving this a 7.5. You don't like that?
No, because I don't think you are giving it the real thought that it needs. But
okay.
I think it's fine because I think that's what most people do. I think most people judge something based on just how they feel about it.
Sure.
You know, and sometimes we rank things the way we, feel, and sometimes it's a shoot from the hip option, like sometimes you do. On the other hand, because I don't like to just say a movie is bad and give it a bad score, just out of spite. I don't want to do that.
Sure.
So I developed a film rating system.
Okay.
It's a 10-point system because we're doing 0 out of 10, we're doing that number 10 out of 10. It has 10 different categories and you can score 1 point in each category, or you can score half a point in each category, or you can score 0 points in each category. Okay. So if I really feel like the performances, for example, were strong across the board, that would be a 1. If I feel like, half the performances were strong and the other half were bad, then that's a half a point.
Okay.
So this is how I came to my score, which is 3.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right.
And that said, when I added up all my points, it was a 3 out of 10, and I added half a point in the rewatchability section because my son has already asked to see it again, even though he was kind of, 50-50 on it.
There you go. Okay. I appreciate that. And I feel like, okay, so if you're watching DadToons, if you're watching an hour review of Lilo and Stitch live action,
yeah,
you probably already know whether or not you're not watching this to see whether or not you should go see it.
Right.
But if you are, you get 2 excellent perspectives. Like you might have one of these perspectives.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and I think there's value in us discussing all these details, even for somebody who's like walking out of the movie and they're like, that was kind of like a fever dream in a way, and they want to like relive it and think through all the elements of it. I think that's what we're doing now.
So is it fair to say that you disliked it? Is that fair?
I liked elements of it. I disliked it as what it is as a whole movie.
Sure. Yes.
Because I want it to be either one side or the other. Like I said, I don't want it to ride the center. I
thought they found a good balance. If it was a shot-for-shot remake of the original, I wouldn't have liked it. I would have given it a bad score. Because I'd have been like, why? Why bother doing it? Like, there's no point.
Well,
That's how I feel about Lion King.
Right. You did say The Lion King was one of the bad ones, which I disagree with just because it's almost like the same exact thing.
That's why I don't like it.
So it's hard to like say it's bad.
But it's uglier. It's the same movie, but
it's uglier.
Worse looking.
Yeah, it's not as good. Definitely not as good. But I can't call it bad necessarily.
Imagine there was no original Lilo and Stitch, and this live action one is the only version.
Ooh, that's tough.
What do you think that would have changed your opinion?
I think I would have liked it less, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because it's such a weird Frankenstein of a movie. It just doesn't make any sense for me.
Okay.
Like in a vacuum, somehow they just stripped the magic out of it, for me.
Yeah.
Because like to me, Stitch doesn't even feel real in this movie, honestly. I think they did a better job in like Detective Pikachu with a talking Ryan Reynolds Pikachu than they did here in this movie. And
Ryan Reynolds should have voiced Stitch.
maybe that would have solved it, honestly. If you're going to bring Zach Galifinakis in here and have him voice Jumba, yeah, just make Ryan Reynolds Stitch. That's fine. That honestly would probably bring it up in points for me. Because that would increase
Pratt.
the originality, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That would have been funny. Actually, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, if you're gonna change up Zach Galifianakis, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here,
Yes.
but Jumba in the original is so much better. He actually feels like a mad scientist. I can quote verbatim. He is bulletproof, fireproof, and can think faster than a supercomputer. He can see in the dark and move objects 3,000 times his size. His only instinct to destroy everything he touches. Now, let's talk about Zach Galifianakis saying that.
Zach Galifianakis is like, oh,
He's
like,
oh yeah, I
that's how
made
he
an
sounds.
experiment. Yeah, he's bulletproof. He's fireproof. He can think faster than a supercomputer. Smash cut to them playing chess, and then he's like, "You're cheating" or whatever. It's just, it does not work for me. It does not work.
Well, somebody should have done the accent. Like, somebody should have done the voice, I think. Like, if Zach Galifianakis tried to do the voice, maybe it would have worked.
Well, you know how they fixed that in the Mario movie, right? You know, in the video game, he's always wahoo, and he's just like mamma mia, and he's just this hyper Italian stereotype, right?
Yes.
But in the movie, they're like, "Whoa, we can't have him being like wahoo the whole time," so they had Chris Pratt just do that voice in a commercial for Mario Brothers plumbing, and then they're like, "Okay." So we paid that off. We don't have to do that anymore. Now he can just be Chris Pratt. I think they did that okay. That was fine. I didn't like it. Yeah. You know, I didn't like that it was just Chris Pratt talking after that.
Yeah, it's too weird.
Well, we will be looking in a couple weeks here at How to Train Your Dragon. I think is going to be one of the next ones.
Yes.
So that'll be fun.
Again, another movie I don't have a lot of nostalgia for. I think we were kind of too old when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're making a live action remake of that too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So like and subscribe. If you watched it this much, like, subscribe to us. We want to keep doing a bunch of these. And tell us what we should do next, what we shouldn't do next. All that stuff. We've got a Instagram now, so go find all that stuff. If you go to dadtoons.com.
Yes, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram. Yes. We are everywhere. And YouTube, obviously. That is where we primarily are.
Go to dadtoons.com for our link tree, and you can find us all the places that we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night. We'll see you later.
DadToons, grab a snack and you can sit down. Watch some daddies talking about animation now. Tell you what they like and what they also didn't too. DadToons about to hit you with a great review. Hey!